KOMU 8 News starts now.
Good afternoon in Missouri and welcome to KOMU 8 News at noon. I'm Jordan Berger. Missouri's General Assembly has approved a historic special session. And it's the first time in state history lawmakers have called for a special session like this instead of the governor. House Speaker Todd Richardson says the session's sole purpose will be to look at the investigative committee's findings and recommendations on Greitens, including possible disciplinary action. The committee is continuing to investigate Greitens for alleged invasion of privacy and possible improper use of a charity donor list. Richardson says the committee will take as much time as it needs to complete the investigation.
I had hoped from the beginning of this process that the committee would find no wrongdoing so that we could bring this investigation to a close and put all of our attention on the issues that matter most to Missouri families. Unfortunately, this is where the facts led.
The special session will start 30 minutes after the regular session ends on May 18th. Richardson says the House Investigative Committee will finish its investigation before that regular session ends. Senator Claire McCaskill heard what doctors and patients alike had to say about rising health care costs at a roundtable in Columbia yesterday. Hot-button issues included rural health care, high-costing medications, and uninsured patients. McCaskill says she wants to help rural hospitals get more resources and focus on lowering the cost of medications. Her opponent in the upcoming midterm elections, State Attorney General Josh Hawley, used the roundtable as an opportunity to call out the senator on campaign donations. His team pointed out in a release she took donations from the healthcare industry.
Absolutely not. I am not part of the problem because I am the one senator who is voting against their interests, investigating their behaviors.
Hawley released a statement saying in part, quote, over her 12 years in the Senate, McCaskill has given the people of Missouri health care costs so high the average family can barely afford the monthly bill. Meanwhile, the insurance companies get richer and richer. Police are still looking for the suspect in a fatal shooting in North Columbia. The shooting happened just before noon yesterday. Police say the victim, 43-year-old Robert Eugene Jennings, was shot multiple times. He died shortly after getting to the hospital. KOMU 8 talked to neighbors at the scene who say crime is a problem in the area.
It's a situation that we need to keep an eye out for, especially in communities like this. It's just a rural part of Columbia.
Neighbors say they hope the shooting is a wake-up call. The mayor of Ashland and some residents say they're sick and tired of the misuse of a central community recycling bin. This bin is supposed to be used for glass, plastic, paper, and cardboard, but it's being used for things like mattresses, strollers, and other garbage. One woman says she's fed up with how some people in the community are using that bin.
I really think that our community really needs to take more pride in watching what we do with our space. If it's full, then don't leave it.
The mayor says there will be a meeting next Tuesday to discuss some possible solutions to fix the problem. Callaway County school principals say attendance at their middle schools is dropping. Now the schools are working together with the court system and William Woods University to help the problem. The WISE program aims to help middle schoolers who have missed more than 17 days of school. Instead of going to juvenile court, the students will go through a mock court system at the university with an attorney and William Woods students. It's a chance for university students to practice the court process and for middle schoolers to avoid the legal system.
Absenteeism and truancy is a really big deal, and when kids aren't at school, they're not learning, and then it also sets up habits that then will affect them after school.
The WISE program will begin in the fall on a bi-weekly basis. Officials said they expect to meet with nearly 20 students during each meeting. A dangerous new trend involving paintball guns is spreading across the nation. The Guns Down, Paintballs Up movement, started by rapper 21 Savage, was meant to be a way to curb actual gun violence. Instead, it's leading to injuries, property damage, and even a few deaths nationwide. Here in Columbia, there were 2 reports of paintball attacks in the past 2 weeks. One MU student witnessed one paintball attack. He says the attack left him shocked and confused.
I think it was clear pretty quickly that it was not a real gun, but still, what's going on here, especially when the guys were like, no, we don't know these people at all.
Another paintball attack was reported to Columbia police shortly after the one Hall and his friends witnessed. MUPD says it believes these were isolated incidents. In your national news, a 6-day teacher walkout ended in Arizona after the House passed an education funding bill. Teachers will see a 20% pay hike by 2020, but some teachers in the movement think it's still not enough. They want more funding for education overall. A representative for the teachers union says the fight is not over, but it's time to get back to educating students. President Trump heads to Texas today to speak at the NRA's annual convention. He leaves Washington in the midst of a new controversy over his lawyer's dealings with adult film actress Stormy Daniels. NBC's Chris Pallone has the latest details.
President Trump's attorney, Rudolph Giuliani, said he disclosed the president's payments to attorney Michael Cohen to avoid having the information leaked later by federal investigators. Cohen paid porn actress Stormy Daniels $130,000 in hush money days before the 2016 election. Giuliani spoke to NBC News last night by phone, insisting he disclosed the information with the president's blessing. But the sudden reversal clearly caught other members of the president's legal team and White House staffers off guard.
The first awareness I had was during the interview last night.
Trump acknowledged the payments in a series of tweets Thursday, a few weeks after denying knowing about them at all.
Did you know about the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels? Then why, Michael?
Giuliani insists the payment to Daniels was a personal expense and not campaign related. But experts say he might have put the president at more legal risk with statements like this.
Imagine if that came out on October 15th, 2016, in the middle of the last debate with Hillary Clinton.
President Trump's acknowledgement of reimbursement, Giuliani's acknowledgement that Trump reimbursed Cohen, that's an acknowledgement of knowledge on the president's part.
But Giuliani says Trump only learned what the money was for in recent days.
Why all of this nonsense with these bogus legal bills and structuring the payment over many months? It just doesn't make sense.
An attempt by the Trump team to clear up questions, which has only spawned new ones about their credibility.
This is Chris Pallone reporting. When asked if the president's worries his former lawyer Michael Cohen will flip on him, Giuliani told NBC News, "I don't think he'll flip. There's nothing for him to flip over." And just hours ago, President Trump made his case on the Stormy Daniels situation and the Mueller Russia probe with two brief press conferences this morning as he left for Washington for Dallas. Trump flatly denied changing his story regarding whether he was aware of a non-disclosure payment to Daniels via lawyer Michael Cohen before the election, and refuted the statements made by his own lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, just a few days ago on Fox News. The president says he's willing to do an interview with special counsel Robert Mueller, overriding advice from his lawyers if he thought conditions were fair. But Mr. Trump aggressively blasted the probe as a witch hunt. Another 49 people from a migrant caravan crossed into the U.S. today. Border Patrol agents have let a few migrants in through a California port this week. At least 140 migrants plan to apply for asylum. Most are from Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. They say they're escaping gang violence and political and economic turmoil. Attorney General Jeff Sessions outlined an aggressive agenda to combat the opioid crisis. Sessions spoke with a round table of sheriffs from across the country. He urged law enforcement to combat trafficking and reduce opioid prescriptions by a third. Sessions also called out Mexico, saying it allows drug production to filter into the United States. And Hawaii's governor has declared a state of emergency for Hawaii County as lava flows from the Kilauea volcano eruption. Hundreds of residents were evacuated. Drone video captured lava as it was burning everything in its path. Several highways were shut down and are only being used as evacuation routes. The governor has activated the National Guard to help with evacuations. In Louisiana, officials evacuated the area around a chemical plant after a fire broke out last night. The plant manufactures and offers services to the oil and gas industry. A nearby highway was also shut down. Officials say chemicals that caused the explosion can be toxic if the vapors are inhaled. There are no reports so far of any injuries. Former St. Louis Cardinal Albert Pujols is just one hit away from 3,000 hits. The chase for his 3,000th hit continues tonight when the Angels travel to Seattle to play the Mariners. Last night in Anaheim, he collected a hit in the second inning against the Orioles to inch closer to that landmark number. The 38-year-old will become the 32nd player to reach 3,000 career hits and just the 4th player to collect 3,000 hits and 600 home runs. Well, it's called the most exciting 2 minutes in sports as 20 horses will run for the Roses this weekend. The field is set for the 144th Kentucky Derby. Coverage of the 144th running of the Kentucky Derby begins tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. right here on KOMU 8. It looks like it's going to be pretty cloudy this weekend for that Derby.
Yeah, the system that we had moving through yesterday is going to be moving through the Louisville area today and tonight. So a little bit of rain for the track. It'll just, I guess, keep the track a little bit wet, which isn't bad conditions actually for that horse racing. But at least for us here in the Midwest, a beautiful forecast coming.